what are the tools AI will provide you in the future.
There are a lot of times that we sit back and think, this I know.
Yes.
Or this is not rocket science.
What was your day and weeks used to look like?
Wow, this sounds fantastic. You don't necessarily have to be within an organization to be able to facilitate learning.
Right.
The financial year is coming to an end. I have some budget left.
Yes.
I got into training and then my eyes opened and I realized I was a workaholic. I enjoyed my work.
Hello all. Welcome to Wisdom Whispers with Abhishek Mittal. लग रहा होगा मैं थोड़ा सा डरा हुआ हूँ? Yes, I am. Because I have a very special guest who's a trainer who has trained me in my corporate life. So, notepad लेके बैठना चाहिए. शायद कुछ feedback या notes लेने पड़े. So, let me introduce you quickly to Aditi. So, Aditi is a Socratic leadership skills developer and with more than 24 years of corporate experience, right? She has worked with a number of corporations in the field of learning and development. Before she founded her own venture, Skills Infinitum, in May 2016. It's quite a long time, so that's why. Huh? So we will hear more about her career venture from Aditi herself. But she's a curious observer of human behavior and is certified in neuro-linguistic programming, we call it NLP, and storytelling. She's a very good storyteller. So we might listen a lot of stories from her. Before beginning her stint as a learning facilitator, Aditi was a journalist and worked with many print and electronic media houses as a reporter, sub-editor, news producer, and anchor. So let's welcome Aditi to the show. Hi, Aditi.
Hi,
Welcome
Abhishek.
to the show.
Thank you very much. Darmat, aaj no feedback for you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for that. Aditi, welcome to Wisdom Whispers with Abhishek Mittal. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Before we get into the discussions, like we have already heard so many keywords about you, would like to hear about your career journey so far.
Wow. Okay. So it has been varied. Like you said, I started out as a journalist. I did that for about 3 years. And when I started, I thought I could change the world. Then 3 years later, I discovered maybe not so much. But honestly, it is a very hectic life being a journalist. So I wanted to move into something else that I knew. I sat down and asked myself, what do I know? What else can I do in life? And languages had been my strong point. So I moved into training. And I trained on language for a little bit before I moved into corporate training. So there again, the focus was communication training, leadership training, and then it kept evolving. And I think I kept taking the most logical next steps. So I am still a learning facilitator, but I'm also a life coach, which I think was the most natural progression for me. And which anyways today, is under the wide umbrella of development.
Yes.
What else have I done along the way? I think I've realized a lot of dreams and I've tried to marry all of that with learning and development. So like you said, I am a storyteller,
Yes.
which I think is an integral part of learning because learning now no longer is, PPT download, it's moved way ahead of that. So I became a storyteller. I looked at neuro-linguistic programming because it fascinates me how our language can, change a lot about us and, our fears and things that we do, our victories as well. And for very many years, I was an artist in my head. I used to think मैं बहुत अच्छा, I'm very creative and I know a lot about art. Then I said, ये test करना पड़ेगा.
Okay.
So I learned how to sketch and paint. Today I paint professionally. I also create a merchandise that is art-based. So yes, I'm a learning facilitator, but I think I've started doing so much more. I've always written ever since I can remember. Again, that was, a theory in my head that I'm good at it. So I tested that also along the way. And today I've published 5 works, poetry,
Nice.
stories, all nonfiction, no gyan around learning and development yet.
Okay.
We shall get there.
Maybe
But
another
yeah.
1-2 years down the line, we will have
Maybe
something
sooner.
by Aditi Malhotra.
Oh, yeah, maybe sooner. But yeah, I think that's what I've done, unless I've forgotten something. So yeah, along the way, I've been on the board of a couple of organizations, related to coaching, helped a couple of NGOs by being on their board. So that's what I do with my time.
Thank you. That's quite a bit things. It's there are a number of things which you have done.
Yeah.
And Aditi, why we are here, right? What is the motive behind having this discussion is now what happens is a lot of people want to get into this field
right
at the start of the career,
Yeah.
or want to pivot after 2-3 years, as you pivoted, right?
Yeah.
Correctly, you pivoted after 3 years of your media life, that you want to do something else that's more hectic for you, and you need some more defined timelines, defined working hours. So that's why you pivoted and you entered into this field.
Right.
So, and that's the primary reason why we want to have this discussion, so that our audience can also understand that what it needs to be in this field.
Yeah.
And how they can pivot if they have already started in some other field,
Right.
and wants to get into this. And now it is more interesting. It's more storytelling,
Yeah.
more visuals,
Yes.
and more interactive rather than one way given of training.
True.
So that's the primary reason, so that people can enter, people can explore new area. And this is a very interesting area for me, at least when I see that, because I have a lot of my friends like you who is into this industry, and they are doing good.
Yeah.
And you learn alongside, right? It's not because something, when you have to train people, you need to train yourself as well.
Yeah. Abhishek, I think that holds true for any profession that you're in. The bedrock of you being successful, and I'll probably talk about that a little later, what success really is, because I think that's also very personal. But the bedrock of being successful, of doing good work, is to keep that spirit of learning going for yourself.
Yes.
Whether you're in the technical industry, whether you're a trainer, whether you're in finance, whatever have you. Otherwise, you're going to stagnate and you're going to fade out.
Yes.
Yeah. So continue to learn.
Yeah.
That's something that holds true for everybody.
So when you moved from media to this, then what was the expectation from you, right? Way back when you moved into this, and how it has evolved over the years?
So in some ways, the expectations are the same. Yet, having said that, the expectations are vastly different as well. When I got into training, I remember I got into it because it was one of the interviews that I gave, and I thoroughly enjoyed myself. And I said, wow, this sounds fantastic. And I got into training. And then my eyes opened and I realized that you might know a lot, but you should be able to explain, what is why, and how, and all of that. You need to be able to explain all of that about the content that you're facilitating. So in that respect, I think the expectation is the same.
Okay.
Very often when you look around, you see that people skip the why. They know the how, but they don't know the why. Yeah. And that's where the challenge starts creeping in. So that, I think, is the basic expectation. What has changed? A lot has changed, and thankfully so, because there's so much more that you can access. There's so much more information, research. There are so many different methods of facilitating development. Today, I wouldn't want to just call it training, but it's facilitating development, whether it is about what you're going to learn, what you know, what you don't know. That is no longer limited to a particular skill, but I think we've evolved into talking about personal development a lot more. Coaching has come into this space.
Yes.
It's still very nascent in India, but I think we've made great strides. And we're no longer just looking at, 2 dots, but we're looking at all the dots that exist and how they're interconnected. Therefore, development is so much more relevant. So much better accepted today. So I think from that perspective, a lot has changed. There's more tools, there's more assessments that one can take, there's more structure that can be brought in. At the same time, you have more space to experiment. A lot of creative endeavors that I've been talking about, whether it's storytelling and bringing that into facilitation, whether it is... So I also run a lot of art-based workshops where you're expressing yourself via art. And it could be on a plethora of topics, right? I also incorporate art into my coaching sessions. So it's not that you're necessarily always sitting with a paintbrush and a canvas, but in a variety of ways. So I think that has evolved, over the years. There's a lot more that's happening in this space. There's gamification, there's
Yes.
online training. I remember, and I sound very ancient, but I remember in some organizations when we had begun to introduce, let's say, an online setup, or even way before COVID, facilitating learning for peers sitting in different geographies. The kind of mental block that there was, and then how it sort of opened. And I think during COVID, there was more acceptance and understanding that things can function differently from how you know them. So, yeah.
And then also now, when you are talking about these sessions where you are trying to get into learning from an art perspective, right? It opens two more areas for people. One, we all want professionals to be more creative.
Absolutely.
Right, and more strategical in thinking.
Yes.
So when we get into these workshops, then you tend to think that really I can do this much.
Yeah.
I can go back to the Tare Zameen Ke movie, right? When Amir Khan organized this art entire fest, right? These professors, they drew something, and they were like, initially they were a little skeptical, but at last they were happy that what they have created out of that page, right?
Right.
Yeah. So it's important.
It absolutely is. And also, I think, when we're in the corporate world, or actually, why just the corporate world, wherever, and we've had a certain set way of working for very many years, we get used to that. And anything a little different, there is a little bit of resistance. But I'd say always give something new a chance. Don't rubbish it, don't dismiss it right away, thinking, art and coaching or art. I've had so many years of experience. Art, what are you doing? I'm not a kid who needs to hold a crayon. Don't dismiss something, experience it, and then make up your mind.
Right.
Yeah.
So what you really did when you moved to this, right, after media, so how was your day and week looked like
then?
Yes. In terms of naturally, when you start something new, you are not going to train people, right? You need to learn a lot.
Absolutely.
You need to prepare a lot. So what exactly you did when you moved there, and what was your day and weeks used to look like?
And I think I've been very lucky when I moved into the space of training. So the first was a language school. So I got extensive training in terms of how to go ahead and administer that learning myself, right? So I got trained on phonics, I got trained on pronunciation. Of course, grammar, but then how do you go ahead and explain? How do you understand the why and share it with people so that they're able to apply it? The focus was all application, right? And then when I moved into the corporate world, again, there was an extensive training for about over a month before going ahead and actually beginning to train people ourselves.
Yes.
So I've been very, very lucky. How my days used to look was I was a workaholic. I enjoyed my work. There were days that I would go back home for half an hour and be back in office and just, love every bit of that. Today, I've, I think, wisened up. I don't do those kind of work days anymore. But I enjoyed that when that was happening. Today, I take on specific work, which gives me creative freedom. I'm able to, and I'm blessed to work with clients that are happy to incorporate different styles of facilitation of learning. So it's not just limited to, come here, look at a PPT, deliver. That's not how I train and I function, right? It's a support for me, but there will be a lot of methodologies and creativity, which is why I also do the very many things that I do. Because I think if you get one-dimensional, then nothing works.
Right.
Yeah. So today I pick and choose work that I'm taking up. And I mean, I'm saying it with all humility. My days are now researching and thinking a lot about how I can make learning more interesting, increase retention by adopting these strategies of using art, using experiential learning, not just keeping it limited to a download. Sometimes that's important, especially when you're learning a new skill. But you also said I'm a Socratic trainer.
Yes.
So I don't give you gyan.
Mhm.
There will be a lot of questioning, and I will help you discover what is there, what you already know, and how you can use that best for yourself as well. Yeah, so it's a mix and match of all these strategies. There's personal coaching, there's team coaching. So all of that, and of course there's learning facilitation. Yeah,
Yes.
but all of that takes up my time, and I'm having a ball.
Great. And like when you started
Mhm.
in this, and you had a different role,
Yeah.
right? And how that role has evolved. I
Mhm.
understand the objective remains the same,
Yeah.
right? But how your role has evolved over the years. Like if people are looking at it, that yes, how I can grow as an individual,
Right.
right, in learning and development.
Mhm.
So what you can share with the audience?
So again, not like you started as a trainer maybe, or you
Mhm.
start as a trainer, but you don't stay a trainer. You become a facilitator. You become sort of not a developer in the technical sense,
Mhm.
but a developer of people.
Mhm.
Because you're not just looking at it from a single perspective. You're not just looking at going and delivering training, but you're connecting the dots, like I said. You know, um, you're looking at different strategies, you're looking at learners more. It's not a tick in the box. You're looking at somebody's holistic development, you're looking at their career progression, you're looking at their development, how you can help somebody else progress in their career. So again, the basic, like you said, is the same,
Yeah.
but there are there are more methods, there are more strategies, there are more ways of facilitating that today. So from that perspective, the role has changed, I think. Also, I think there are more platforms to reach people today.
Mhm. That's
You don't necessarily have to be within an organization to be able to facilitate learning.
right.
Yeah. Social media is a great space for people to be sharing maybe inputs and learnings, maybe learning themselves
Mhm.
that wasn't there before. So
Yeah.
it's become a more interesting space from that perspective. Um, yeah, yeah, I think
And
that.
also like one thing which now I can think of, because I have worked with a lot of trainers,
Mhm.
because I got trained by so many people in my
Right.
career. Like maybe when I started in my corporate life,
Yeah.
I haven't seen that the trainers were invested in you,
Mm-hmm.
right, invested in you, but now the things which have changed in this entire world is that now trainers have invested in you,
Yeah.
so they have an interest in you. It's
Yeah.
not just a classroom training they will give, they will go,
Yeah.
right? They will look entire thing holistically, and they will work with you for
Yeah.
years. It's
Absolutely.
not just a one classroom session or one session where they will train you. So
Yeah.
this is very big evolvement in this entire industry.
Absolutely. And that's how learning has progressed. I mean, more than of course, it's an individual thing as well. Because there were invested trainers earlier before the whole space got set up,
Yes.
right? But I think the whole perspective towards learning has now changed. It's not, like you say that you walk in, you deliver a training and you walk off. There's a whole bigger plan that one needs to look at. How is this tying in with what your aspirations are?
Yeah.
How is this tying in with what the organization's looking at? Where are you meeting on a common platform? So yeah, there is a lot more investment, not just from a trainer but also from organizations today. We've seen spaces where learning used to be, the financial year is coming to an end, I have some budget left.
Yes.
Let me get a tick against someone's name. Or that there would be like a one solution fits all kind of an approach. There would be a blanket in terms of learning and development. No, this skill everybody has to do,
Yeah.
despite the fact that somebody might not need it. They are already very good at it. So I think that approach and that thought process has undergone a change as well. Learning is now more individualized. There is a wider lens that we use when it comes to learning and development.
So it the industry has evolved so much.
Mhm.
So if someone is starting now,
Yeah.
right, into this field,
Mhm.
and I don't know if there are certain colleges who are providing this as a skill set,
Mhm.
but if someone is starting new and wants to join L&D,
Yeah.
or this life coach industry where they can train and they can coach people, what skills they should have?
Okay. So the very basic skills that we talk about to other people to start with work on yourself, work on your listening, work on your empathy, work on your people skills, by and large. When it comes to certification, um, uh, there are private institutes as
Mm-hmm.
well, and private training firms that offer
Okay.
certifications. Please, please, please get a certification, whether it is learning and development or
Mm-hmm.
it is coaching. There are a lot of times that we sit back and think, this I know, or
Yes.
this is not rocket science. And I'm not just saying it about training or coaching. However, when you enter the space of structured learning,
Mm-hmm.
or a structured certification program, you realize there's so much more to learn than you think, you needed to. So work on your own skills, right? Work on your communication as a trainer, work on being completely unbiased, right?
Okay. Very
Uh,
difficult.
but you've got to do it, right? Unbiased, not just in terms of people and preferences and favoritism, but
Mm-hmm.
unbiased also in terms of judging somebody basis their skill level,
Uh-huh.
judging somebody basis their background, or even basis their questions.
Right.
Yeah. You're right. It's not an easy thing to do. It sounds so Miss Universe kind of an answer, but that's where a trainer's learning comes into play. You've got to constantly evolve yourself if you want to be a successful facilitator. Yeah. And when it comes to coaching, it was very interesting. A couple of years ago, I was sharing my insights with students at a school.
Mm-hmm.
And after they heard what I do, somebody who hadn't even cleared grade 12 said, I want to be a life coach right after grade 12. Can I? So there is no stopping anybody from getting a certification at any point in
Uh-huh.
time, right? However, my advice to people would always be, please get some life experience before you
Yes.
venture into, something like coaching. You're not meant to have, so for example, if I coach you today, I'm not meant to have BFSI experience,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not getting into domain expertise at all. However, there are things that you can draw from once you've had a bit of experience working, right? And you're able to connect with your coachees a lot better.
And I think this is a ongoing learning process.
Yep.
So you cannot be a trainer from a day one, and you cannot be a good trainer from a day one.
Yeah.
Right? It
Yeah.
takes time, because you will, and every person is different. You have to understand that what's going on in their mind as well. Not everyone's day is exactly the same as you think it
Yeah.
will be.
Yeah.
There will be highs, there will be lows,
Yeah.
and people will have different moods.
Yeah.
And and I'm just picking up from the story which you said, like after 12th, if I want to be a trainer, I need to gain some experience
Yep.
to interact with people.
Right.
Every person is different personality, and I have to see that how I can control my emotions
Yeah.
so that I can coach other person.
Absolutely.
It's I have seen, and it applies to me as well. Sometimes I become so emotional when I'm training someone that I think I'm not doing justice to it, because I'm emotional. When I'm emotional, I cannot give a neutral training, right? I cannot be unbiased
Sometimes
somewhere.
it's helpful to be emotional too, because then like you said, it isn't that every day is the same, or every
Mhm.
person's the same, or even every situation is the same. So sometimes getting emotions into the picture makes you a better trainer when it's needed. And sometimes, yes, why sometimes, all the time, you've got to be unbiased in terms of not getting sucked into the situation that you are unable to think clearly.
Mhm.
Because as a facilitator, that's what you've got to do as well. Or as a coach,
Mhm.
you can't be emotionally involved in the situation. You've got to think very objectively and clearly, and then help the other person move along the path that they want to create for themselves. So yeah, life experience wins.
Yes. Uh, so now you have already talked about a lot of skills which are required, but if our listeners and audience have to pick up 4 or 5 key skills, right, which they will need to enter into this field, other than certifications,
Yeah.
obviously after graduation or post graduation, if they have gained certain certification on NLP, on life coach, and
Yeah.
whatever, right,
Yeah.
there's so many certifications are available. What are the top 5 skills which are required for individuals?
I
Because
have-
again,
sorry.
because one more thing which is attached to this, and which is, I don't know this is right or not, but it is attached, like, oh, there are more female who will get into this L&D kind of environment.
Yeah.
Why? Because they are good people person, right? They can relate to, they have empathy, they have they can relate to people. But is it really true?
No.
No.
I think you're right. A couple of years ago, that stereotype did exist, and which is why possibly a lot of, you know, males wouldn't get into the industry. But no, but that's not true. And though I think it was a stereotype that deserves to be in the trash can where it's gone now. There is gender equality in learning and development as well, and I think irrespective of gender, I think it is your personality and your drive to learn
Yes.
and evolve as an individual that really helps pave the way forward for you. So I think listening is a fundamental skill which you know we have to constantly keep working on. The ability to empathize with people, to be able to understand where they're coming from, to be able to understand perspectives, openness to different points of view. Yeah, which I find that, sometimes with experience or even with inexperience, we close our minds off.
Yes.
And then forget about the other person's progress. Your progress is not going to happen. And if you don't evolve, you can't help another evolve. It's very simple. So yeah, listening, empathizing with people, keeping an open mind, the ability to ask questions and be curious. Because the moment you lose that curiosity, it's just end game starts. Yeah. So the ability to ask questions and be curious, and the ability to articulate your thoughts. Yeah. I think those are some key skills that one should have when you're looking at either training or coaching or any form of facilitation of development.
And you need to have that ambition as well to train other people, right?
You have to have the love.
Yes.
Yes.
Love, because everyone loves their own careers.
Yeah.
Right. But if you start loving other people's career, they are the good leaders and they can be a good mentors and coaches and trainers, right?
Yeah.
So that's very important.
Yeah.
Now, we all have been hearing about one thing, AI, right? So, and it's getting into nerves of a lot of people, like how this will change a lot of industries, a lot of job profiles. So what you think that in the past years, how AI has helped you? Because I always look AI is a friend.
Yes.
Because it is helping me. It is not going to take my job away.
Right.
So how you have seen AI in the past, that how it has evolved your field, where we are today?
I think you rightly said that it's a support, it's a friend, it's not an enemy. Whenever something new comes, there is this fear that, oh my God, is this going to take my role away?
Yeah.
But AI is machine. People are people at the end of the day. I'm not going to say that it's not going to have a role to play. It already has a significant role to play. And I'm not going to say that, we're not going to, as people, have a role to play. Of course, it's going to be a mix and match. I think AI, I'm grateful for it because there is so much more information available. There are so many more resources and tools available that support learning and development today, whether it is reports, whether it is assessments, whether it is, just having a platform where people can go and research. You can get information. You can't get wisdom. That's how I see it, right? You have search engines. You go ahead, get information. But would you be able to assimilate it without that human intervention? Even when we look at creating, let's say, virtual training, right? That doesn't happen automatically. You still do need people to go ahead and monitor what's happening, to create, to design, to think. Right? Because at the end of the day, it is people that we're dealing with. And who better to deal with people than some more people? So that's how I see it, really. I don't think at any point in time I've been afraid that, oh my God, AI is going to take away, my job. Or if there is a coaching app that comes in, a lot of people fear that what if it replaces real-time coaches? I don't see how. I think it can just supplement. I think even if you do take it up, you look at it and you, become more aware of the whole process of coaching, I'm sure you will find answers. However, when you need greater, more customized, more relevant answers and, creating of a path of success for yourself, you go back to the OGs. So that's how I see it.
No, because you need an empathy,
Yeah.
which machine cannot provide you.
Yeah. And there's a lot that the machines can do that people can't do
Yes.
today. But I think you go hand in hand. You support and you rely on the evolution of the other as well.
Yeah. And how do you think, what are the tools AI will provide you in the future,
Mhm.
which will help this entire process of mentoring and coaching?
Mhm.
You think there will be more evolution which is still pending?
I'm sure there's lots of evolution. And you shouldn't, by the way, never say never to anything,
Yes.
right? I'm sure there's a lot more that we still haven't thought about, we haven't explored. Who would have thought that you enter keywords and you get all the information that you want from, a chat? It's like a chat bot giving you answers that you never expected from it. There are movies that are now being made on robots playing humans, etc. Right? So never say never. I'm sure there's a lot more that we can gain in terms of support and resources from AI. I'm sure there's a lot of assessments that can come through. I'm sure there's a lot of research, that will come forth that will help us evolve into better learners, facilitators, and coaches for sure. What it might be, I wish I knew. I'd be the richest person sitting here then. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So there's one more question which I think which is important for a lot of people. People want to pivot into this,
Mhm.
right? We already heard from you the top skills which will be required, but what exactly people should look up to when they are thinking of pivoting into learning and development?
Okay. So one could be training certifications that exist. So there are institutes like ISTD where
Mhm.
you can take up a training certification, which doesn't just delve into how you facilitate training, but all the associated aspects of training, right?
Mhm.
So that's something that you can take up. But look at what adds to learning and development as well, because
Mhm.
it's not a unidimensional thing that you've got to do. So maybe associated topics that you can keep getting yourself trained on,
Mhm.
whether it is assessment, personality assessments, whether it is learning technical skills. So gamification is a big part of training today.
Right.
So how is it that you can understand that better, if not execute it yourself, right? If you're not developing the app, but how do you understand that? How do you broaden your horizon in terms of how training can be sort of delivered, right? Or you look at NLP, neuro linguistic
Yeah.
programming, right? You can look at psychology because it helps you understand people better.
Yes.
Yeah, that's something that I'm going to do. I'm going to pick up psychology as a study.
Okay.
Because one, I'm fascinated by people, right? But I think it really, really helps when you're delivering training. So a
Mhm.
lot of people only think of skills in terms of, I pick up a piece of content and then I go deliver training. So skills are not always going to be that black and white. You will pick up and train yourself on skills that will help you enhance how you deliver training and how you facilitate learning. So you can look at associated skills like that as well, right? Today, when we look at schools, everybody's getting the know-how on how to build a website.
Yes.
Yeah. So, so yeah, those are skills that are going to be important. Look at gamification. Yeah. How do you make trainings more interesting? Look at softwares that help you.
Like platforms like Kahoot, right?
Yeah, absolutely, right? Or if you want to put out information, then look at what are the tools available. How do you go ahead and create that information? There's so much; it's endless, pretty much. So yes, get your training certification when you. And if you want to be a life coach, go ahead and look into that certification as well. And then look at what adds to what you now know
Mhm.
and keep adding that to your basket.
Thanks, Aditi. One thing which is left, I think we started it. Your current venture, right? So, what exactly you are doing there? It's a interesting name as well.
Skills Infinitum.
Yes.
It means limitless learning, because I truly believe that learning is limitless. What am I doing? I'm a one person army, and intentionally so. But I work with individuals, I work with organizations, facilitating learning in communication and leadership skills, looking at different strategies of how to make learning more important, not important, but interesting.
Mhm.
So, looking at different strategies to make learning more interesting for existing clients or for newer clients. And then coaching, I think, is a big game changer. Because it just doesn't focus on structured learning, but it helps you self reflect and create a path for yourself. And when we say coaching, sorry, I'm just going to go into a little bit
Yeah,
of that.
sure.
But a lot of people like training, mistake it for something that's remedial, that
Mm.
you only get when there's something wrong in life. I don't think so. I think that perspective, thankfully, is also beginning to
Yes.
change. Yeah. Um, Training and coaching are things that help you move ahead. For example, I coached somebody once who been there, done that, super successful leader. And when we sat down for a session, said, now what do I do? So, there are different kinds of crossroads as well. And it doesn't always have to be a challenge. Please reward yourself with training and coaching. And that's what my aim is, to help people reward themselves with learning.
Now I can think like what you said, right? Training used to look at like, oh, there is some challenge in me,
Yep.
and that's why my senior has put me in a training
Right.
program.
Right.
But now people strive for trainings
Absolutely.
because that's how you learn, you develop new skill set,
Yeah.
and you become a better leader.
Absolutely.
So
And
that's
and please take up skills that are not related to your job as well. Yeah. So there are lots of guitars where we are sitting, right? But please take up a skill that's not related. It just makes you a better functioning person in your personal space and your professional space as well. Yeah. Especially when you have lots and lots of years of experience, please do it then for sure. It takes you back to your initial days. And
Right.
so empathy develops. Yeah.
Great, great. Thanks, Aditi. Thanks.
Thank you.
That's, I think, we had a very good conversation on this topic. We will move to another section now. We will not talk about learning anymore. We will talk more about you,
Yeah.
and would like to hear more about how you have been from the last 24 years. What are you doing, and other things not related with work.
I'm feeling very old at the moment, though. But yeah, sure, go ahead.
Great. So now the first thing I think which came up from top of my mind is you must be reading a lot.
Yes,
Right.
I do.
So
Guilty as charged.
any 2-3 books which you can recommend to our listeners?
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm rather than just books,
Yeah.
actually two fiction, pieces of fiction that I really, really like. One is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee,
Mhm.
and the other is Wise and Otherwise by Sudha Murthy. The first one talks about, and I think drives home, integrity and honesty and all of that. Yeah. And standing tall in the harshest of challenges.
Mhm.
That's my learning from that. And Sudha Murthy, so simple yet pragmatic, life experiences. And it's just shared so simply and so humbly that it's just something that these are two books. So if you're a friend of mine, then you've had those two books from me. But yeah, these two. And I think Simon Sinek is somebody that's, an exciting read for me. So pick up a book by Simon Sinek, anyone.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think I will pick up at least one book from this.
Very good. Baki though I will gift you.
Okay. That will be great.
Yeah.
What's success for you? Because you said you're a one woman army, right?
Yeah,
So what's success for you?
So I have my own definition of
Yes.
success. I am not in a race with anybody.
Mhm.
I'm not in a hurry. I am also not somebody that does things for the heck of it,
Mhm.
whether it is for myself or for my clients. And I will say it as is.
Mhm.
Sometimes you might not like what I'm telling you because you want to hear something different,
Mhm.
but I will say it as is. My definition of success is doing exactly what I'm doing right now. So I might not be a traditionally multi-billion dollar or whatever company, right? But I think I'm able to do good work. I'm able to learn at the same time. I'm able to make an actual impact on lives and circle back to see how that is working out. For me, that is success. For me, success is constantly evolving, constantly learning, bettering myself to be able to do a better job. For me, success is not just being a professional, but to have something to talk about in my personal life as well.
Good.
So yeah, that's success for me, really, because I'm not just my job. I'm so much more.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have,
But yeah,
we have a world outside of our work, right?
absolutely. But I think, unfortunately, a lot of us forget it. Uh, so when I was just going back home for half an hour, I think I'd forgotten it then. But yeah, it's so much more important to have many facets to yourself, not just one. Yeah.
One last one person whose brain you could pick.
Oh wow.
Interesting one, because I know you have been interacting with so many people and
Hmm.
read so many things. So
Hmm. So I think my personal favorite is Sudha Murthy, because I think she's so wise, and she's practical, and she's her own person.
mhm.
When you watch her speak, she isn't somebody's wife. She is her own person, and
Mm.
she's created that space and niche. So I think she is definitely the top of my list, but I'm going to pick the brains of a couple of other people. Trainer hu, itna to karna hi padega, right? But Marshall Goldsmith is somebody I've met him as well.
Oh,
But
really?
in that interaction, group interaction, you don't get to pick that person's brain so much. But I think I got into coaching because of Marshall Goldsmith, in the sense that I saw how much he would give to people.
Mhm.
And that's something that comes naturally to me as well, giving back. So yeah, his brains and how it functions, and who else? I think Michelle Obama is somebody else whose brains I'd like to pick.
Nice.
Interesting combination.
Yes.
And Sadhguru. His brains, everybody keeps picking, but I love how he explains things and how he's so with it. Yeah.
Nice. Thanks, Aditi. Thanks a lot
Thank you.
for being our guest today.
Yep.
And it's great learning, so many learnings from you.
Yeah.
So thanks a
you.
lot.
Thank you for having me. And once we cut, please take out your notebook and your pen. No, I'm
Sure.
kidding. But thank you. And I'm super, super proud of you. And what you're doing is fantastic. Hats off.
Thank you. Thanks, Aditi.
Yeah.
So this was our episode with Aditi. So we have learned so much about this learning and development as a profile. We learned that we have to be good with listening skills. We have to be humble. We have to be empathize with other people, and we have to be curious, right? So these are the key skills if you are planning to move into this particular profiles. We will keep bringing you some more of these food for thought conversations in our upcoming episodes. If you enjoyed this episode, do let us know. Also, if you have any feedback or want us to pick up a certain topic, do reach out to us on Gmail, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Below are the links. Also, do remember to share it with your friends, family, and colleagues. And subscribe to us if you are watching us on YouTube. And follow us if you are listening to us on various audio platforms. This is me, Abhishek Mittal, signing off for now. We'll be back next week with another fascinating episode. Thank you.